at the very end of this section of the book, so I think it's around page 54, so in the conclusion of this chapter, C. Kavanaugh Rowe talks about the necessity of institutions, that we have to have these structures that the church actually invents in a way. So he's going to, the next part of the book you're going to see, he's going to talk about the church itself, a hierarchy in particular. He's going to talk about how the church started educational institutions and how it started hospitals. Those are the three big things he focuses on. So we'll look at those as well. But why do we need institutions? Again, it has to do with this lie of the autonomous individual. You can't do this on your own. You actually have to do this in community. And part of this has to do with the whole message of everything we've been talking about for the last couple modules, actually. Remember, Jesus has come to show us that you and me are called to partake in the divine nature. But it's not just me that he's calling to partake in the divine nature. It's not just you as an individual. Every single person in our life is called to that same destiny. And so we are, if we're going to enter into this destiny of partaking in the divine nature, then it's going to necessarily have a social component, and that's going to translate into institutions. You're not going to be doing this alone. This is going to become really relevant to some of you. I mean, there are a few of you that are studying to be nurses. There are a few of you that are studying to be teachers. I've heard this from you. Those two institutions, right, education and nursing, were started by the church. Really, the way we think of them today, were started by the church. So this is really, really apropos to your career goals as well. And so what we're going to do here is get beyond like just your own individual career goals, but think about how is what you are pursuing here with your career goals a part of this big story of everything that's kind of laid out in the Bible. Okay? So, if the fall resulted in social estrangement, we talked about that in the last mini lecture, how the result of this is that our rebellion breaks our relationship with God, breaks our relationship with the natural world, breaks our relationship with ourselves, but it also breaks our relationship with the society around us. So if the fall results in that social estrangement, of being isolated from one another, accusing one another, looking at each other as rivals rather than as teammates, then the redemption that Christ brings to us has to heal those relationships. We're not saved individually. We're actually saved so that we can enter into a community with one another, so that all of that can be healed. That's what redemption, this is part, going again, back to things we've already been talking about. This is part of the reason I was saying that salvation is not just going to heaven. It has to do all of these other things, and one of the things it does is it heals this broken social relationship that we have, restores community. So this means salvation is not just personal. American Christianity, at least, tends to think of salvation in sort of personal terms. We talk about having a personal relationship with Jesus, for instance. Now, I hope everyone in this class has a personal relationship with Jesus, but I hope it's not just personal. Your relationship with Jesus has to have a public aspect as well. And the fact of the matter is, Jesus would have died for each one of you individually. He would have died for you. If you were the only person on earth, he would have died for you. But he didn't. He died for a church. And we are saved not individually, but actually as part of a church. Salvation happens in community. And this is why you need the church. Because a Christian community means church. We've already talked in this very module about some of the difficulties with this, some of the challenges that the church can present. The church is not always fun. I've heard from actually a few of you already this year. Some of you have suffered greatly by individuals in the church, and I'm so sorry to hear that. I too have suffered because of people in the church, and yet it is the only thing going. It is the so the language of the church fathers is that the church is the ark of salvation. You think about the story of Noah and the flood. To escape the judgment that was coming on the world, you had to be in the ark with Noah and his family. There aren't any other options. You can't say, gee, I don't want to be in this boat with all these stupid giraffes. I'm just pulling out something random. But, right, it's the only thing going. The church is the only thing going. And as difficult as life in the church can be, it's the vessel of salvation that Christ has given us. And if Christ is saving you, he's saving you as a part of the church.